Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Liv. So today we're answering a question that a lot of people have been asking lately, especially with everything going on in Texas politics. The question is gerrymandering legal in Texas? Now, before we start, I will be the first to say this is so messy. Both parties play these political games. Keep in mind, Democrats and Republicans have historically used redistricting to gain political advantage in states where they hold power. It's a common political strategy, not exclusive to one side. And Texas is a red state, meaning that they are majority-leaning Republican. I want to break down what the law actually says, both at the state and federal level, because the answer just may surprise you. So first off, real quick, if you're wondering what is gerrymandering, gerrymandering is when politicians draw district maps in a way that gives them or their party a political advantage. There is two main kinds. Okay, so one of them is partisan gerrymandering, which is all about giving one party more power. The second one is racial gerrymandering, which is about weakening the voting power of certain racial or ethnic groups. One is legal in Texas and the other one is not. Okay, so let me explain. Let's start with the federal level. Back in 2019, the U.S. Supreme Court made a big ruling in a case called Rucho versus Common Cause. The court said, we do not condone excessive partisan gerrymandering, but the federal courts are not the appropriate place to resolve these disputes. So they basically said, get someone else to do it, because partisan gerrymandering, while it's ugly, but it is not the court's job to stop it. What that means is states like Texas can engage in partisan gerrymandering and federal courts won't intervene unless it violates other laws. In other words, federal courts cannot block states from drawing maps for political advantage. So if Republicans or Democrats redraw the maps to win more seats, that's totally legal under federal law, as long as they're not doing it based on race. Now that brings me to the second kind, racial gerrymandering. That is illegal under the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the 14th Amendment. You can't dilute the power of Black, Latino, Asians, or indigenous voters on purpose. But those cases are hard to prove and take years to fight in court. Now let's talk about Texas. Here's the truth. Texas law does not ban partisan gerrymandering. The state legislature has full control over redistricting, and they are allowed to draw maps that give their party an edge, as long as they don't violate federal protection for minority voters. That means that they must keep districts equal in population, avoid intentional racial discrimination, but that's it. Texas doesn't require competitive district. It does not require fairness. So if it looks like they're playing political games with these maps, that's because they are, and it's legal. Now, let's just not take my word for it. Governor Greg Abbott himself have responded to the critics' backlash, and he's made it very clear. He was like, this redistricting process is not about race. This is about making sure every vote is counted fairly and that the map reflects the political will of the people. Now, here is the clip.
Representative Gene Wu, he's a Democrat from Texas. Here's what he said.
The tool they're using is a racist, gerrymandered map. A map that seeks to use racial lines to divide hard-working communities. And Governor Abbott is doing this in submission to Donald Trump, so that Donald Trump could steal these communities' power and voice.
I have two main questions. How do you respond to his accusation that you're using a racist tool to do this? And the second question I have, if you could wrap it into this answer, is why now? Why do you need to do this in the middle of this session?
Sure. So what he just said is totally bogus. First, for redistricting purposes, it's not done for racial reasons. However, the racial outcome is this, and that is the district lines will solidify the Barbara Jordan African-American district in the Houston area, and it will add 4 new Hispanic districts. And so there's actually going to be more racial minority districts in the state of Texas. Why now? 2 reasons. One is, since we last did redistricting, there's been a change in law. A court decision affecting Texas came out and said that coalition districts are no longer required, and it's perfectly legal to dismantle coalition districts. The second is gerrymandering can be done, or drawing lines can be done, on the basis of political makeup, as in Republican versus Democrat, and there's nothing illegal about that. And then when you look at the outcome of the most recent presidential election, all these districts that are being added are districts that were won by Trump. Here's the point of that. These voters in these districts won by Trump, they don't have the ability to vote for their candidate of choice now because they're in congressional districts. They're in a Democrat district, as opposed to a district won by Trump. And so we have the authority legally under redistricting law to draw districts that align with the voter preferences of the voters of the state of Texas. And Donald Trump proved in these Hispanic-created districts that Hispanics, as well as other people in those districts, they want to vote Republican.
Okay, so you heard it directly from Governor Abbott, and as a lineage American and a born Texan, I have to say I support what he's doing with redistricting, because at the end of the day, Texas is changing and our leadership has to make sure our state reflects where the growth is, right? How people are voting and how we maintain balance and order in representation. Now, I want you guys to think about this. Isn't it fair for Texans to update our map based on population growth and shift in voting? So shouldn't voters in fast-growing areas, many of them conservative, have accurate representation? And why is every time Texas make a move that strengthens Republican leadership, it's immediately labeled as racist? It's almost like the critics don't want fair maps. They want maps that benefit their side. That's what control freaks, manipulative, and self-centered people do. Now, I'm proud to be from a state that stands its ground, even when some people try to spin the story. Texas does have a long history of legal fights over redistricting. In 2011, federal court said Texas intentionally discriminated against Black and Latino voters. In 2013, parts of the map were struck down. In 2018, the Supreme Court let most of the map stand, but a few districts were redrawn. And right now in 2025, Texas is being sued again over new maps tied to redistricting effort pushed by the GOP. So yes, the fight is ongoing. Here's the bottom line. When you see headlines about lawmakers walking out or court cases piling up, this is what it all comes down to. They're allowed to play politics. They just can't cross the line into discrimination. So what do you guys think? Is it time for federal or state laws to change? Do you think gerrymandering, even partisan gerrymandering, should be illegal? Or is it just part of the political game? Let me know in the comments. I always love hearing your thoughts. I appreciate you guys being on this journey with me. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe for more breakdowns like this, especially if you want our leaders to make laws that benefit the everyday American people. Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay fearless. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.